Hi, I'm Steve Yee, Director of Product Management for SQL Azure. Today, we're going to talk about how businesses can take business intelligence to the cloud with SQL Azure without adding hardware costs or IT overhead. In this video, we'll talk about the benefits of SQL Azure, and we'll introduce SQL Azure Reporting. We'll also talk about the ability to embed SQL Azure reports into on-premises applications and also Windows Azure web apps. And we'll show how you can create SQL Azure reports using available report authoring tools, and we'll talk about how users can view and export reports. Finally, we'll do a demo in which we'll show you how to author a report with Business Intelligence Development Studio, or BIDS, display your reports, embed a report into a web app, and manage and deliver your reports. When we're done, we'll point you to some additional resources to help get you started. When you move your data into SQL Azure, you can free up time and reduce risk associated with managing and maintaining your own in-house database servers. Once in SQL Azure, your database is highly available, reliable, and scalable, and can be accessed from anywhere via the internet. SQL Azure is also highly flexible and allows you to pay as you grow, eliminating the need for upfront capital expenditures. Now, let's take a look at SQL Azure Reporting. SQL Azure Reporting brings all the benefits of the cloud, elasticity, scalability, and reliability to business intelligence. For example, imagine you've just launched a new Windows Azure SQL Azure web application to support a product marketing campaign. Now, you can easily create rich reports, including tables, charts, maps, gauges, and spark lines to create business intelligence from the SQL Azure transactional data that you're gathering. And SQL Azure makes it easy for you to deliver rich BI to the people who need it, when they need it, and where they need it. To gain even greater value from your business reporting, you can embed reports into on-premises applications, any web application, and with Windows Azure cloud applications, all using the same patterns and tools that you use today. By extending certain segments of data to specific applications, you can make sure that your business intelligence is available to all your users in all geographies. Just like SQL Azure Database is built on a familiar foundation and supports familiar frameworks and tools, SQL Azure Reporting also enables you to use consistent authoring tools, including Business Intelligence Development Studio, or BIDS, and also Report Builder. And as you do today, you can export all of your SQL Azure reports to a variety of familiar file formats, including Excel, PDF, XML, and CSV, all of which create a symmetrical development experience and allows you to use the very same skills to produce BI regardless of whether your data resides on-premises or in the cloud. To get our walkthrough started, I'm going to connect to my SQL Azure database we'll be reporting against. In this demonstration, I have employee expense report data in my SQL Azure database, and we'll be writing a report on expenses by department. Once connected to the database, we'll begin by creating a view in our expense database in order to easily access our data. I will type out my tsql command and hit execute. Now that our view is created, we can switch to Business Intelligence Development Studio, or BIDS, where we'll start a new project. Under Project Type, I'll select Business Intelligence and find the Report Service Project template. I'll give the project a name and select OK. Our blank template is now ready to use. Our next step will be to configure our data source. So, right-click and select New Data Source. Give the project a name and specify the source as Microsoft SQL Azure. Click Edit and we'll enter the connection property details. Provide a server name and the appropriate SQL Server authentication details. Specify the database you'll be pulling information from and click Test Connection to make sure your details are correct. Sure enough, our connection is established, so hit OK. Then click OK to return to our blank template. Right-click once again and we'll add a new report. The report wizard will take us through the process of selecting a data source to use in creating our reports. Select the Share Data Source button and click Next. In the query window, type out the command to select the view we just created. Then click Next. Now we can decide how to group the data in the table. Select the available fields you would like to display and click the Page, Group, or Details button to enter them into the report. We'll move the department, status, expense date, and cost fields into the Details Grouping category window. Now click Next. Now we can choose a style for our report, so we'll select Corporate and click Next. The wizard will provide us with a report summary detailing the information we just selected. Give the report a name and click Finish. The wizard has now generated a simple table with our design specifications. We can alter the cell format by right-clicking on the desired table entry and selecting Text Box Properties. Because we're formatting the expense date column, we will change the way the date is displayed. Select the desired display type and click OK. We will also need to format the cost column to display the data in a currency format. So once again, right-click the cell and select Text Box Properties. Select Number and specify the currency details. Now click OK. We can switch to the Preview tab to make sure the formatting and design considerations are to our liking. Our table is looking good, but we also want to add a chart to create a visual display of our data. Going back to the Design tab, we can resize the table so we can display a chart. By using the toolbox on the left, we can easily drop a chart into the report. Select the Chart option and a window will open displaying the various chart types. For this demonstration, we'll select a pie chart, so click OK to populate it into the report. In order to see our chart configuration and expand the design window, minimize the Solution Explorer on the right. We can add values to the chart by clicking the green plus sign. We'll select Cost. Next, we'll select our category group, which will be Department. Switching back to the Preview tab, we now see our report with the updated chart. Our report looks good, so let's see how to share this data using SQL Azure Reporting. In order to deploy the report into the SQL Azure Reporting service, we'll log in to the Windows Azure Developer Portal. Begin by selecting the Reporting tab on the left. We have already configured our account, so if you haven't registered for SQL Azure Reporting, go ahead and do that now. Expand the subscription using the tree on the left to reveal the reporting service's information. Click on Reset Password and enter the password you would like to set for the reporting account. Note the username, as we will use this to deploy the service. Copy the web service URL and switch back to the report we created in Visual Studio. Right-click the report in the Solution Explorer and select Properties. To configure our properties, we'll make sure to overwrite our datasets and our data sources. Now enter the target server URL to specify where the project will be deployed. Make sure to add HTTPS to the beginning of the URL and append it with /report-server. Click OK and we can begin deployment. Right-click the report once again and select Deploy. A login dialog will appear, so enter the username that was generated from the reporting service's registration. Enter the password and click OK. Our deployment has now succeeded. Now we can view the report in our web browser. The report server shows a directory of the report we just created, as well as the time and date details. So I will select the report we just created. As you can see, our expense report is now visible to anyone with an internet connection and is highly available, elastic, and reliable. We can further expand the reach and scalability of our report by embedding it into a web application. Now that we've set up a report, let's create a web application to help make our report even more valuable. For the next part of this demo, we'll switch to Visual Studio 2010. First, I'll click on File and select New Project. Then select Web under Visual C# and ASP.NET Web Application. Provide a name for the app and click OK. Next, we need to add the RDL file we created in BIDS to the project. So, we'll go to the location where the RDL is located and copy it over to the current project folder. We'll need to change the file extension from RDL to RDLC so that it will work with the report controller. Later in the video, we will further change the file so that it points to the objects in the web application, not the reporting server web service. Going back to the project, right-click on the project. Now, add the existing item. Select the RDLC file. Click Add, and it's now added to the project. Open up the defaulted ASPX file. We can now go to the design mode and change the header here. First, we need to add a report viewer. I'll resize the viewer size to make it about 800 pixels wide. Next, we need to add references for the report viewer to work. Right-click here and select Add References. Under .NET, we look for the Common and Web Forms report viewer. Pick the latest version for each, but make sure that the versions match and are not being pulled out of cache and are coming from Visual Studio. Now we'll configure this to work with a report. Select the report, and next we will choose the data source. Click on the drop-down for Data Source Instance and select New Data Source. Select SQL Server and provide a name. Hit OK, and in the next screen, click New Connection. Provide the SQL Azure connection parameters. Click Save Password, and provide a database name. Now you can test the connection. The connection works, so hit OK. And now save the connection. Next, we need to select the view we created earlier in the demo. We'll select all the fields and click Next. Now we test the query to make sure it works, and now click Finish. Finally, we need to drop a script manager to manage the code for the report viewer. Now we can execute it out to see if it works. And here's our report. By using the reporting services capabilities of SQL Azure, we've easily extended the reach of our data in just minutes. In this video, we talked about the benefits of SQL Azure, and we introduced SQL Azure Reporting. We also talked about the ability to embed SQL Azure reports into Windows applications, on-premises applications, browser apps, and also Windows Azure Cloud applications. And we showed how you can create SQL Azure reports using consistent report authoring tools, and we discussed your report export options. Finally, we walked through a demo where we showed you how to set up a report with Business Intelligence Developer Studio, display your reports, embed a report into a web app, and also manage and deliver your reports. Finally, here are some additional resources to help you get started. Thanks for listening, and please be sure to visit SQLazure.com for all the latest information and additional resources.